Okie dokie, welcome here. Welcome to everybody. And I think even Mincy's jumping on with us now. Ben, hello. How are you? You okay?
I'm great, man. Yeah, very good. Very excited. Excited to be here and meet.
Oh, you should be. No, you genuinely.
I made the cut, finally.
Well, I mean, look, let's be honest, Ben, and I have to be really honest and hold my hands up and say it would have looked a little bit odd considering you've obviously helped build our site if you'd also been our first provider on as well, wouldn't it?
I'm just delighted to be here, and I've thoroughly been enjoying the show. And I just suddenly realised that David, I mean, we met live at some event back in the days where you could do live events. But I feel like I know you really well because normally at midnight I'm dialing into the Kerfuffle show and just sucking it all up. And, it's been really enjoyable.
So you're the guy that's been watching the show.
Yeah, it's me. All the hearts, all the love hearts flying through.
Yeah, I've heard of the watching hour. I don't know what the Kerfuffle podcast hour is.
It's definitely great to be able to watch it at that time of night. All the kids are in bed and the wife's asleep, and
Well, speaking of what you made it in bed time, we've got the wonderful Darren Hutchins, who's watching us from. It's got to be gone past midnight now in Melbourne. There, so we've got an international audience.
Fantastic!
We've got an international audience.
Brilliant.
It's all right. He's a shameless slut, so he as long as he gets read out, he keeps coming back for more. Ben, I want to deal with a couple of things up front. First of all, you are, let me just say, a little bit high maintenance because I asked that this is website month for Kerfuffle. Obviously, we worked on the basis that just like vendors, if they've gone into lockdown, not liking their homes, they're not going to like their homes any better during that process. So the reason we did websites was the same. We believed that estate agents, if they didn't like their websites before they went into lockdown, they weren't going to have felt any more comfortable, were they? Went sat with that as their main shop window, pretty much then and even now. But I've got to say, I asked you to come on board and do, we wanted to talk about estate agency websites, and you came back and you've scrubbed out websites on the description, and you've retitled it, unhelpfully, Estate Agent Web Apps for the Next Generation. So I need to understand, first of all, how you could be so dismissive and just kick it off and explain what was the main reason for doing that.
Yeah, well, that's... It's become my sort of disruptive opening line. We don't build websites anymore. We build web apps. And I think, primarily, I'm going to say that is a mindset that I want people to be in. So when people are coming to us, either our existing clients or new clients, they're coming in and they're saying, right, we need you to look at our website. And I say, come on, guys, what we really want to be doing here is looking at what do we want this thing to do? Now, the moment I mention to people things like Uber, Deliveroo, Trainline, and those kind of apps that we use all day long, and we just, they're just like part of our lives, for many, and, there's millions more. They're all connected, engaging little parts, little sort of apps that deliver results sort of instantaneously. They're connected. A lot of them have live data flowing back and forward. I think the key is data flowing back and forward. And so they're also presenting information. Apps are renowned for, on the successful ones, for presenting information simply and clearly with priorities in the right places, the right time. So it's really all I ever want people to do is start off with that mindset. It's like, why am I building this page? Homepage, search page, area guide, office page, people page. It doesn't matter which page of the site it is.
Yeah.
What's it doing for you? And how, when I'm on my phone, which all our clients were hitting 65% mobile traffic, where's the buttons? Where's the message? How clear can it be? And is it reacting with me in a sort of thoughtful, timely manner. So that's the sort of honest to God basis of why I've been saying that for the last year or two. I always caveat that with, I'm not specifically meaning an app as in Android, iOS, although for some of the bigger players, I think there is a place for it. I mean, obviously, dare we say the word right move these days, they've got enough action going on there to warrant you downloading an app, However, since I've been saying that line,
We've changed full position.
We have been driving towards actually looking at the sort of progressive app, which is, it's still a responsive website, but it's built in such a way that when you save that to your home screen, the browser's gone. And this whole thing is interacting with you in a very app-like manner. Driving
like Mobile Jet, Simon.
In Mobile Jet,
like Mobile Jet. So basically, it's an icon. It really is your browser pretending to be an app that sometimes works. That Simon built that. That's
right.
I wanted to give him the credit he deserves.
Well, if you can still see the URL bar, then it is pretending to be a web app. But if you can't, then
isn't that the key to it? That basically apps, it's all about how it's presented in terms of optimized for the platform that you're using. So on your phone, for instance, again, you're not going to see a URL. It means that the user can't play around, go to the wrong place. It's very much you push a button, you get to your location. Yeah. So it's optimized for the outcome, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, you actually win back about a quarter of your browser or your space, because all those bars at the bottom and the bar at the top is actually stealing your real estate.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I think, whether it's a responsive website, a web app or whatever it is, the other really big thing, and you and I have spoke about it this week, Simon, it's what do all the others do? They actually communicate with you in a more real-time manner. So when you do something, the beauty of a native app is it's got all the benefits of, the notifications. So what we're trying to now do is really focus around building a notification system so that, of course, you'll get an email, but I mean, I don't look at my emails, like once a day, twice a day kind of thing. So that's not very timely when someone's just made me an offer or someone's just booked a viewing and I need, as the vendor or the landlord, to go, yeah, I'm happy with that. I accept that time. Or someone's given me feedback at 10 o'clock at night and I've been wondering all day whether the estate agent was ever going to call me. Well, so what we've done is we've now hooked in with SMS, which is a no-brainer, and for one of our flagship clients in Dubai, the Allsop team, Lewis and Carl, we built in a whole WhatsApp for Business system. And the beauty is that's come along a long way now. So not only can you have all notifications delivering those timely messages, any kind of alerts, which you can control as a user, what messages you want, how frequently you want them, and so on. But it's like a backup for agents. It's like this efficiency. I mean, all of us love ordering online and getting that text that says, Kevin is going to be with you in an hour, DPD or whatever. So why the hell is the biggest ticket item in our lives, being the properties we're buying, renting, whatever, not being treated in the same manner? So, a massive part of this whole web app thing is actually, come on, guys, let's get the WhatsApp notifications. In our world, I use Slack for everything. So everything pours into Slack. Now, that's probably not quite there in the sort of consumer world, but I think it will be. So, that's broadly it. But a lovely little sort of another kind of API integration-y thing was another thing I know that you love, Simon, that we've done in this lockdown period. My favorite thing is Calendly connecting to Zoom. Yeah, I mean, I've harped on about it, but literally I've just had an influx of people going, oh, that was so easy. It was free, for the basic account. Most people are now, upgrading to the paid account because they want the benefits of adding extra calendars in the case of Calendly. And in the case of Zoom, they're suddenly going, this is the future. Now I want recordings and I want transcripts. Now, that's just a bit of code that in our kind of microservice world, which famously is, the Repit foundations, for example, is all built on these microservices. And the whole concept around it is for us to connect with all these awesome prop tech firms that you're reviewing on a regular basis and actually better stitch them in pretty seamlessly, and equally so unstitch them out, rather than this sort of monolithic, oh my God, how do we unravel that decision that we made? And like 18 months later, someone does it. So it's a whole new movement. I mean, it's not actually a new movement, by the way. It's quite an old movement, but I think it's all come along so much that, as you can probably tell from the tone of my voice, I am really excited by it. Because suddenly you can start tracking data, you can start delivering people stuff they want, and actually start triggering other things that they maybe didn't know they wanted, and it goes on.
So did I take from your tone when you were first describing it as apps that you were having a little bit of a pop though at the way that there is a lack of integration traditionally between different systems, isn't it? I mean, that has all, let's be honest, that has always been integration in our world for the better part of my first decade at Repit. Really meant a one-way export integration from us through to the likes of you, a very basic one out to the portals.
Property feed,
wasn't it?
That was APIs.
That was, yeah.
If you were lucky.
We used to talk about flexible APIs because you could have then customized fields and, different quality of images. But really, that's how bland the flavor was. And of course, what got everyone caught out was that explosion of prop tech in particular, which suddenly didn't have the integrations in place, did it? Which was obviously lagging so far behind the consumer world, whereas you quite rightly say all 300 apps or whatever you had on your phone integrated not only with natively the Android or Apple systems, but also many times with each other. And it's taken a long time to get up to speed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a ridiculous level of paranoia that unless you walled gardened everything. I mean, I think the reason Apple walled garden is that it was a quality control thing. They wanted to make sure that this awesome single button device actually worked when things happened. And I think it was a great one. Obviously, they also have enjoyed the 30% of everything that goes on as well.
Yeah, that helps.
But you and I were the first to be agreeing over lunches or whatever back in the day that actually the bright CRMs, which is where it all sort of resides, it's the single source of truth, is the CRM. And I think they've been horribly slow to the party, and I know why it is. It's because the tech was built back then and it was so big and monolithic, it's very hard to unwind, and I know that go on.
I think you had a combination of massive issues though, didn't you? You had first of all, let's be honest, there was a mindset one, and you'll just forgive me, I'm just checking the terms of my my contract with Repit and departure to what I can and can't say. But there really was that, everyone wanted the CRMs wanted to control everything there. For various reasons. And then, as you said before, there simply wasn't very easily the ability to integrate it. So both of those actually led to them almost forced to have the position that actually they were very, very defensive. And that caused a complete split between the clients that wanted this integration and obviously the CRMs that found it very difficult to provide that.
Yeah. And I think that there was paranoia that, you're charging fees and somehow or other, someone's going to create this, complete product over here. They've just sucked the data out and suddenly you're cut out of the thing. And why do we need you? Yeah. But I think that, it's now become quite clear that we do need something at the center. You know, I mean, one of the biggest nightmares that all the prop tech guys have, you know, as part of the sell-in is, one, how hard it is for people to trial things when every time you say something to someone, they go, does it integrate with Reaper? Does it integrate with Vibra? Does it integrate with, you know, Radar? Whatever it is, the answer has typically been no. And in some cases, it's going to be no for a number of years. But also from a customer, from an agent point of view, it's hard enough training people how to use tools as it is, you know? So you want that reporting in a single place. What I have found recently, because data is becoming a lot more sort of portable, is that, you know, there's all sorts of really cool, you know, products coming out that are actually creating some amazing dashboards, doing some very powerful things, which is using a bit of CRM stuff, but also a whole bunch of other, you know, feeds from different products. And I think that's where it's getting quite exciting. But ultimately, I think that, you know, the attitude is changing. Agents are beginning to see the power of these different bits of, you know, features, functionalities, content, whatever it is. I mean, video alone, you know, just being able to video from your phone and almost dynamically know it's going to appear on your website. Or as I experienced this week, which was a lot of fun, just to give Kerfuffle a bit of a big up. You know, where are your video reviews, Ben? Oh shit, you know, bam, couple of comments out, and suddenly I'm sat here, you know, almost blushing, you know. And I didn't have to call you and go, hey man, I just got these. Will you put them on your website? Please, just click of a button, approval by the high chief, and bam, they're there. And, you know, 3 proud moments kind of thing. And that is web app experience for me.
It's very important that they get the approval of the high chief. Can you imagine asking for video testimony from Simon Wales' client?
Yeah, I was worried. Someone called me and said, I can't see them there. And I was like, is he going to approve these? Are they too glowing? Or...
You don't have to worry. Whilst the pubs are closed, there's not an issue. When they're open again, there's a backlog of 200 waiting for me to go yay or nay. That's a problem.
But I think that genuinely is the difference, though, with video testimonials, is that it's harder. They say that sincerity is the hardest thing to fake, but you can do it in writing every day. I mean, we all do. Yeah. We're polite to people we don't want to be polite to, and we say thank you for things we're very ungrateful for. So, but on video, it comes across more genuine, and it's harder to fake it, so that when people do leave you genuinely glowing reviews on video, it seems natural, it seems believable.
Yeah, and I love that. I think it's absolutely, because it's real, isn't it? Everything about it is real, and it's current, and everything about it.
You glean so much more as well, don't you, from literally a 1 minute, 2 minute. I think it was the way I was looking at it from was on there was some research done in the States, but it was across all industries, and it showed that over the last decade the length of reviews, written reviews, has reduced by 70%, and it's actually much more closely now, unsurprisingly, reflecting the length of a tweet, you know, to 80 or whatever it is characters. So if that's the basis of this, it's soundbite city, isn't it? You get far more out of a video than you ever can from a written. There's still a place for written, but you know the reason that YouTube was bought by Google was not because it was particularly profitable. It was just the way that it was the video was going, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And now they've got the next problem on the block is our next favorite video channel is TikTok, which has just gone through the roof. I mean, literally, it's gone through the roof. You know, originally
you were a fairly early adopter.
I was an early adopter. I mean, my brother and I did our Christmas card was rather embarrassing, but a bit of fun. But you know, I think it moved on quite quickly from you had to sing or dance to all sorts. I mean, now it's such a variety, and it's. What I read something literally yesterday on it, and I thought it was a really interesting thing, and it's sort of in line with this whole video review thing, which is people are posting stuff up, you know, trying to make people smile, particularly in lockdown. It's been prevalent, you know, and you've got famous people, you've got people who are becoming famous, you've got people doing things for charity, you've got all the NHS nurses and, you know, just being funny and builders and all the rest of it. The moment anyone's sentiment is, you know, you idiot, you're embarrassing, suddenly there's a wall of other people going, you don't belong on this platform, go somewhere else. So it's really nice to have some social media where suddenly, I mean, I'm sure, you know, they do have their problems and they do have, you know, people jumping in, doing some dodgy stuff, but on the whole, it's a really positive spirit. And I think that's great, you know.
Yeah, it is. That's really interesting, though. Do you see TikTok going the way as almost every social media platform? It's the, you know, a new social media platform comes out, Instagram, or in this case, TikTok. Let's be honest, it's adopted by the kids and the cool people there, and then it naturally matures in the way that I suppose you could allege that obviously Twitter certainly has. There's even Facebook, which started off very much personals, moving very business-like. Do you see that even for something as mad as TikTok being relevant in a business sense?
Well, I think what's been cool about TikTok is, you know, the bit you're talking about is when they start monetizing, basically. Yeah. So all these crazy ideas start off being, you know, just free for all, everything's free, do whatever you want, and you go, what's the actual financials behind this?
Yeah.
It's the business model.
Now?
No, I'm not. I totally get this one. This one is you sneaky bugger. You know, yeah. But no, I mean, the reality is that I think they've clocked it early. I think the people behind it have gone, you can advertise a brand and you can be fun. It doesn't need to be some cliched, high budget, you know, Apple advert. But it can be someone doing something crazy, wearing their AirPods, you know, in a sort of, you know, Red Bull extreme kind of manner or lunatic way or whatever. So it's engaging with audiences in a very human way. So there's kind of no rules really. And I think that, so they'll just make money. You know,
it's hard coding and on every social platform, the key is to go viral, isn't it? And more than anything else, it's easy to do that on TikTok, isn't it?
It is. You literally, I cannot believe it. And you know what I love about it? And to be honest, David, the main reason that I started getting hooked on it is, you know, whilst we're on the subject of video, one of the worst parts of video is that shocking royalty-free music that goes with everything. It's so horrible that literally I just continuously go, no, 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 no. Hence, we wrote some awesome music for Simon, his own theme tune. But, you know, the beauty of TikTok is what it was actually called. It pivoted from Musical.ly. And it was just music. So you go on there and you can literally type any word, you know, free valuation, hypothetically, and there'll be 10 songs with the words free valuation in it, you know.
But you know, on the whole, you don't see anybody really sort of weaponizing it properly for business in the same way that you see them using sort of Instagram or Facebook. But then one day I came across this butcher. I can't remember what his handle is, but it was fascinating. He was just showing the difference between, I don't know, how to cut
meat,
cut that and cut this. But instantly I thought, oh wow, this guy is if I were to buy another piece of meat, it'd be from this guy who knows what he's doing. And I think everybody can use that platform in that way. Yes, it's a very fun and engaging thing, and all of us want to see 100 Simon Wales jiggling their bits about and dancing.
God, I love it.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you can sort of, I've been trying to sort of think of ways that estate agents might be able to use that. And I think the other thing is that when you look at the sort of cross section of users on any platform, for me, Facebook is the most universal in as much as it's got a lot of grandmothers on it, and then the middle generation. The younger, so my daughter's generation, if you're on Facebook, it's like saying you're on MySpace.
It's Snapchat or nothing, really. It's Snapchat or TikTok, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. And so I think you probably need to, you need to sort of get into the habit of duplicating your content across different platforms.
You do.
And if you just fancy an argument, then you just use Twitter.
Yeah, and if you're really just wanting to wind people up, you put a rather crazy TikTok in LinkedIn.
Oh, right.
LinkedIn has got to be all very sober and a bit boring. And so suddenly when I see a sort of wall of Simon Wales going like that, it's like great. You know,
I find LinkedIn so irritating in as much as it's everybody's a guru, everybody is a thought leader. Everybody's advising you that in every video that you shouldn't be selling, you should be helping, and you should be reaching out, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I think it's in itself. I think if you look at, I look at a lot of Chris Watkins stuff, and he goes into detail about what a LinkedIn algorithm likes. So for instance, it doesn't like likes and shares; it likes comments.
Yeah. I mean, there is an argument that it's a good Chris Watkins scam, isn't it? Whatever you do, just keep writing in my post, over and over again, liking and commenting, and keep copying people in. Never leave here. And when I'm famous and I'm on my yacht, I'll send you a quid.
We've exposed you here today, Watkins. We see you, Watkins.
We're all going with it, though.
This is why I like Ben. He sees beyond what the rest of us see.
Can I just let me just read out, David, on their website how Starberry describe themselves, because I think this always says a lot. And it says Starberry is a decentralized constellation of digital creatives and tech gurus whose mission is to create awesomeness and deliver results for our clients and their customers in real estate, prop tech, property finance, and many others. I mean, for me, that just nailed it.
Don't stop. I'm almost there. Keep going.
Are you knocking me off this channel now after that?
No, I am. You know, I'm your biggest fan in terms of everything else. We got our first question here, actually, Ben. We got it from Rob. Hi, Rob. He says, let's just show that up. He says, do you find an agent's mindset needs to change towards understanding the importance of clean data that can then be actioned? That's a really good one.
I love that one, Rob. I absolutely love that one, because that was actually something that once we finished talking about TikTok, I actually wanted to get back to the web app, and the web app is very much sits in this world, because, the reality is you got your CRM, you've got your forms on your website. You've got to keep capturing data. Don't keep asking for the data over and over again. So one of the big breakthroughs, it's not a breakthrough, it's a no-brainer, but everyone who's got a website out there, put this in there, which is, let me log in. I said, we're going to do this for you too, by the way. Let me log in with my Gmail, my Facebook. Yeah. I'm in. So don't ask me for my name, my telephone number, my email address again. But from now on, ask for more data. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the more data you've got, the more fun that everyone can start having. And not only the businesses, the customer can start getting better and better, more accurate information. People just ask, estate agents. I mean, you tell me, David, whether this is true. Do people just ask, what area are you looking in? How much money have you got? Is it a two-bedder? Is that about it? Or do people go, have you got a dog? Are you married and divorced?
Can we have I've got a medical report that's been done in the last couple of months. No,
yeah.
But
I think COVID friendly?
So really good estate agents have been asking correct data, because I think CRM providers will tell you, look, our software is amazing, but if you don't populate it, it's worth nothing.
Yeah.
So get that info. And I think one of the things that managers will drum into their staff is that you've got to ask the right questions. It also enables the agent to be able to sell additional services. So, for instance, if you're asking, are they on the market? Do they require evaluation? It then triggers a whole load of other actions. Have you got a mortgage yet? If not a problem, madam. You can talk to Jack over here. He's going to sort. So it's important for those reasons alone. But I think that there are a lot of people that weren't asking those questions. Now, if COVID has left us with one legacy, it may be that you need to ask questions before you just agree to show anybody a house. So you first of all have to ask medical questions now, which it still feels odd to be asking somebody whether they feel okay, if they have any particular, are you vulnerable, Ben?
Yeah.
Have you been abroad in the last 40?
I haven't left my valley in 12 weeks. Literally. Yeah, the valley. Notice I said my valley.
Yeah.
It's called Sellersville, by the way.
So I think maybe this will actually train people to ask those qualifying questions, particularly if the government are saying, look, you should only be showing houses to people that are in a position to proceed. How are you going to know if you don't ask the question? So if that's the definition of clean data, or should we call it useful data, I think that maybe more agents are going to come out of this with new habits.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the other thing to help, and this is partly our job, partly a CRM's job, and all the prop tech guys around, when you can demonstrate doing something with some extra bit of data and cleaning that data up and going. So one of my first questions is always, so how many people do you have in your database? Because we want more leads. We want more leads. Yeah, that's the first question. I'm going, do you actually need more leads, or should we just focus on sorting out the whole user journey, the whole brand story, the data capture, this, that, and the other on your website, and then what's going on with your data right now? And they'll go, oh, we've got 5,000 email addresses. And I'll go, are they segmented? Do you know anything about this data? Oh, I reckon I could probably call Dupix or whatever, and they'll give me an export, and I should have an idea of the buyers, tenants, vendors, and landlords. And I go, do you know if any of them are all of those things? Obviously, some platforms are better than others. Some agents are doing it absolutely spot on. But that bit of clean data, and the other thing was, by the way, that people who do email communication just created like bunches of groups of buyers, tenants, vendors, and landlords. Yeah. One of the things that we realized is create one database, but have custom fields. So, it's Ben Sellers again. He's a landlord. Oh, he's now a buyer, and he's a tenant, and he's a vendor, whatever. Yeah. And you just keep adding the custom tag or whatever, so that when you do want to run segmented campaign, or you've got a new home that fits the bill in the area and all the rest of it, you've got that clean data. The problem, going back to the APIs and the two-way syncing data, is it's all clean now in your MailChimp or your ActivePipe or whatever else you're using, Brief Your Market. Well, in the case of Brief Your Market, they're connecting, and ActivePipe, I think. But, many people are using different tools and they're not connecting. So GDPR is a nightmare. The data is immediately not clean because they updated their phone number in the CRM, or email address, but it's not updated in all these disjointed pieces, So there's lots of benefits for focusing on the data, really targeting your data.
I'm about to do something to Ben that he did to me a few months ago. So Ben, I don't know if you remember, but you were very kind. I was running a concept by you and you threw me an absolute curveball. You said, have you ever thought how blockchain is going to interrupt this business model? And I went away and I thought, blockchain, what's he talking to me about Bitcoin for? And I went into more detail, and it was mind blowing. I mean, I literally went away and had to rewrite the whole of this plan. But blockchain, surely that's a way where that's the epitome of sort of clean data, isn't it? It's one record that cannot be altered. It can't be shifted.
It can be altered, but it's not from a centralized place. It's decentralized, a bit like Starberry, meaning that it's on servers in multiple locations. So half the reason why governments have been so slow to it is they can't bury that piece of paper that said this or that, But it's funny that I'm glad you brought that up, because Russ and I, my brother and I, are absolutely crazy for it. Maybe too crazy. We backed about 40 different blockchain projects. Many are in the property market as well. And actually, off the back of one of my late night kerfuffle show, I was watching the Portal discussion. And off the back of that, and with a little help of Andrew Stanton, he introduced me to Adam from OpenBricks.
OpenBricks, yeah.
And so yesterday we had an amazing chat. It was so down the line, because the way I got, and I might have said this to you, David, before, the way my head got around what I love about the blockchain. You know, everyone goes, "Oh, Bitcoin." Well, yeah, Bitcoin's great too, but that's, you know, that's neither here nor. It's really the process of encrypted, decentralized data. But what I personally thought is, I hate handing my data out. I can't stand this continuous. It's just everywhere, isn't it? I mean, to be hacked, to be sold, to be whatever. And in reality, if you've got your beautiful certified personal block of data that says, you know, this is my email address, this is my address, this is my age, I'm good for the money or whatever, and someone goes, is he living here? I don't actually really need to tell them or pass any. They just, yes, that's his passport. Yes, that's his driving license. It's just block to block. No humans, no one's seeing it. It just makes your mind just go crazy. And so, you know, I had a lovely chat on OpenBricks. I actually think that it's a brilliant idea, and there's loads of other concepts going on out there. And I think that it will be the coming together. I mean, our business in the old days was e-commerce. We got really big into e-commerce, had 150 people. And it was all based on risk reward. So it was all, you know, you build the website, but then you actually make most of your income off the results of driving sales. So we built what was actually at the time the thing called Magic Button. And it was the first European affiliate network. And it was all about, you put the link on your site, and if they click that and come through and buy something, you get your 10% affiliate commission, which is obviously rife to this day. The only problem is, we all know, it's all got a bit of a workaround. It's like, oh, thanks, Simon. You know, you brought that to me. And then I go around the houses, or they go around the houses, and they come in another door. It's not tracked. But if you start with everything, so if we agree that we're on the blockchain, we're Jenny on the block, you know, we then, anything I do, whoever I go to first,
traceable. It's traceable.
And I just love that. So
and that's what I loved, and that's what you saw it straight away, that the concept we were sort of working on, it because you're working on trust, and because our industry is built very much on trust. So why do you choose an agent? Hopefully you're choosing that agent because you trust them to sell your property. Why are you selecting that particular buyer? Well, you trust that they have the wherewithal to purchase the property, and that they're going to do exactly as they said they were going to do. And I just think that if there's one industry that needs a bit more trust injecting into it, it's definitely the property industry, and taking away the ability for people to bend the rules, if you like, because they're just, it's so straightforward. But to me, where it falls down, and I think where it's limited, is the fact that it needs to be connected into at the highest level. So it needs to come from sort of land registry all the way down to and
it's coming, David. It's
coming.
Seriously coming.
On the way.
You know, a lot of the sort of third world countries have embraced it in a faster way than we have. But, you know, right now, all the national health stuff is going on there. You know, there is land registry stuff going on there. You know, I know a lot of the sort of, one of the areas that's probably the quickest win is that whole letting process. Because we don't need to, and even to be honest, in sales, like, when was there a search done? You know, well, it was actually done about a week ago. So why the hell am I doing another search again? I think the blockchain could cut out sales progression incredibly. I almost think it could be the nirvana, you know. You think about it, or, oh, has he got money for a mortgage? Has he got this? Has it got subsidence? All that bullshit that goes on. It's actually being recorded in a single place that all of us can access.
And Simon, you'll love it, because it's probably one of the most socialist concepts there are out there. Because really, on a micro level, one of the reasons it's so popular in developing countries is that there's a lot of people out there that are unbanked. They don't have to get a bank account in these places. It's a nightmare. But everybody has one of these. And as long as you have one of those, then you can get onto the chain and you can become banked. You have access to money. You can save money for the first time instead of shoving it under your mattress. You're not subject to the whim of governments. To me, it's a great concept.
It's very powerful, and what I really love, and some of the things we backed was exactly that. By the way, the unbanked, yeah. So they've got their mobile phones, and it might be a coffee plantation in the middle of Kenya, yeah. And when you actually see the journey of that piece, that bag of coffee, and what this guy got versus that guy versus that guy versus that guy, all the way to Sainsbury's. It's embarrassing, whereas if his is registered at the beginning, you could actually get it from A to Z without any of the middle ground at all, or with a fair, we talk about fair trade. But equally so, all this sort of vying for new revenue for estate agents, they can competently introduce you to Sky and Virgin and whatever. And Virgin can't cut them out. They don't even pay them. The blockchain pays them. It just gets paid. So the money gets paid on the block, and it gets divvied out to 100 different people.
So a business that works on referrals, say like Kerfuffle, maybe perhaps that could introduce the blockchain element as well to trade. Referral.
Let's do it.
I look forward to catching up on our Monday meeting, and you can explain it all to me again. Just. Rob's got another question here, which I think actually is still linked to what we're talking about here. Is an interesting one: is where can personality data like that be stored in a CRM that can be used for marketing instead of just sitting in notes? One of the interesting things you were just talking about before is that dynamic that you've got. A lot of systems, the CRM systems now, do have the ability to have a myriad different fields. Segmentation is possible, but therein lies the problem, because without you being able to tease that information out there, you end up with a lot of fields with bugger all data in there, and actually all the clever marketing you want to do from that segmentation can never happen. So how do you concentrate on that element of it? Is it simply that you need to have something like this in place and then work on the marketing itself?
Well, you either do that, you've either got to export it with all that on a, if we're going a bit old media, which is sadly in where we're sort of still at, I'm dreaming about the fully connected, but in the short term, you have your clean data, as populated as possible, either when it comes in. So I think that there's a massive opportunity where, as we all know, these leads pour in from the portals, and they get the SLA of a phone call, an email, another phone call, and then they're like, that's just a bloody tire kicker, and it's gone. Yeah. But actually, if you put some automation in place to push, an email, a phone call, a text, a nurture program. And then when you push out with those things and you're using tools like Typeform, for example, that ask those questions. So a lot of people use forms, but forms are very rigid. They're either horribly big, and it's like, oh my God, if I got to fill that, I abandon the form. Or they're intelligent, so that have you got kids? Right. Well, the next 10 questions have completely changed because you've got kids,
those systems that use, sometimes you go to register on a website and they say you can use your LinkedIn profile, you can use your Google profile, your Facebook. Effectively, that's just pulling all that data, isn't it? All that data. So if Facebook knows that you've got 6 kids and 12 wives, it'll answer those questions for you.
And then if people don't answer that, and you've thoughtfully connected the email address through Facebook Ad Manager, that's going to Instagram and Facebook to remarket, you suddenly go, oh, hold on a second, these guys are actually, they're all this lookalike audience, and they're like that audience, and they already start putting their hands up because you've suddenly got all their activities and their fun and games that they like to do. So it's about just realizing the value. And if you don't understand it, call us or, many other companies out there, who are actually focusing on this omni-channel approach. And I do think, there's a long way to go on it, but there are companies out there that are really starting to do it well. I mean, Salesforce have famously been doing this sort of stuff, it's just horrifyingly confusing, too expensive, too bloated. So, you know, the reason we like to use some of these more simplified tools of the sort of clutter, and you can just focus. And I think that more and more there's individual companies who are doing little parts of the equation. And, you know, as we're experiencing with Kerfuffle, with the ICG and all these different things, people are really willing to buddy up and actually do stuff together. And I think that is why I'm saying I'm so excited about where we're going. So,
I think the idea of blockchain, for me, one of the really exciting things is because you have that ability to track that person from cradle to grave. I mean, literally, you know, whereas you just mentioned yourself, whereas the perception is from a lot of agents that these leads are tire kickers and they're never going to do anything, you might have only shown an interest in that week or that month, but they might have then gone on to actually transact or go with somebody else 2-3 months hence. And what that will do is re-educate people into the importance of sticking with it, of literally, we use that phrase nurture, but genuinely nurturing it, because actually then as well, if you can track them from that point of view, is no longer do you have to then go to massive spreadsheets and start looking at the lifetime value of a client. You can just plot them throughout there and suddenly opens up everything. ROI is incredibly easy to both understand, estimate, and predict.
Yeah, and dare I say, once you get into this place, so you can do a lot of it manually. So, for example, one of the things that we do right now is we get the Google ID code. So when you're running an advert on Facebook or whatever it may be, you can point the link to a unique, you know, URL. UTM or whatever code, so that from that moment onwards you can know what campaign drove that inquiry. But if people are just coming in from SEO and all the rest of it, it's very difficult to give an attribution. So we're trying to hack the system right now, in effect, by picking the unique reference from Google that they use to go, you got a valuation, but because it's all anonymous data, and we're marrying up quite cunningly with our forms based on various different tricks in the background, so that we can really start seeing the power of what is working, where people are coming from, and actually working that data. So going back to Rob's thing, the more you can find out, you know, if you know someone's in a 1-bedroom flat and they're pregnant, the chances are that quite soon they're going to want to move on. Or if you find out the ages of people's kids or the interests of someone, or that their job, you know, if you look in their LinkedIn and just scroll back and see that they've just moved jobs from, you know, there's a lot that can be.
That's very powerful. Gary Vaynerchuk always talks about that. He talks about, if you know that there's that moment where if you find out that Simon, for instance, is a massive Liverpool fan, and you send him a Liverpool shirt, hopefully in a size that will fit him, but you get that across to him on his birthday, you have won a raving fan for life, because what you've done is you've tapped into his passion, and you've not asked for anything, and you've given something.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I'm going to catch up with you later. I have to go and value a house now.
You go smash it, David. I'm glad that you managed to join. I was worried for a moment that it was going to be the Ben and Simon show only, and I wasn't.
Now it's going to be the Ben and Simon show, but I'm going to catch up on replay later. And Ben, if you don't mind, we need to talk blockchain sometime.
I'd love to, man. I'd really love to. Good to see you. And go out
see you
and
soon, guys.
All right. Cheers, man.
That's really interesting, though. You know, I think there's a whole host of different things we've touched on there. It is another show in its own, but actually, the most important thing about it is, whereas we can be accused of spending too much time looking at this technology when it really doesn't matter a damn. You know, actually, you know, because we're literally, the wave's about to hit us now, we do need to get our heads around things like blockchain, don't we? Because it is literally over the horizon, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. But getting back to, you know, the sort of app side of things, probably just from a point of view of, you know, I mean, I think the blockchain bit will be brilliant, but it is still out there. Yeah. But the sort of now stuff is, you know, I think, you know, and this goes back to the kind of trust side of things that David was just referring to, is, you know, the more connected and the more information you can be sharing with your customers, both buyers vendors, landlords and tenants, actually having visibility. I mean, I know for years you and I were trying to flog the property trackers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think the worry about it, although there's a bunch of fantastic data in there, the worry was always, oh shit, what if they see something that we don't want them to see? What if it's not that impressive?
Yeah.
But the sort of beauty of what's happened with some of the online agents, and there we say the purple bricks of this world, is they actually started just showing you that data, showing you how many leads and how many viewings and the feedback and what they've said and offers that people are making. And what I've realized, and this is one that was great, that I remember getting a call from Lewis Alsop, one of his WhatsApps in the middle of the night, going, what's so beautiful is the last 10 bits of feedback have been too expensive, And it's so hard for an agent to actually say, and it sounds like they're just trying to cut corners. They want to get their fee, bring the bloody price down, and off you go. But actually, when that's connected and there's notifications coming in and they know it's real. So what we've done is we've hooked into the more controlled feedback data. So it's too big, too small, not right, whatever it is, too expensive. That data, you don't need to worry about that going directly from the a buyer or tenant straight to your vendor landlord. Obviously, you also have the fill in the comments field where they go, it's a shithole, and you don't want that going because you don't insult anyone. But actually, when you start sort of relaxing, you realize that one, it's transparency. So you happen to be in another meeting, but they've already given feedback, and your customer is thinking, God, this is awesome. This is brilliant. And another trick that those boys have done, which I love, was, they're crazy for Deliveroo. So they wanted the Deliveroo experience. So this in the sort of web app mindset. So we can create whatever you want. There's some cool things out there. But the idea here was, 20 minutes before you leave for the valuation,
you can see where they're going. You can see
where they're going. And you see the guy driving. So in yours and mine case, we can carry on having a few pints, knowing that we don't have to be standing outside the flat to let them in,
That genuinely is fantastic.
It is. I love it.
Not least because obviously it's Deliveroo and all the rest of it, but I can certainly see that. Just looking at, one of the things that we've been talking about here throughout the theme of this show is outside of industry, the big ideas, the big themes that are coming to change us here. And one of the biggest challenges I think we face is that, of course, a lot of agents want to look at a web company that, they feel like they don't want to look at companies from a state agency because they want something so different, so weird. But there's a lot of problems with that, isn't there? Because you can be a very good website, in the wider world, but the whole, almost like the nuts and bolts, the essentials of property portal feeds, learning all the terminology, learning the drivers, can be a real hassle to catch up with, isn't it?
I have to say, Simon, if I go back to 2001 and we were awesome at e-commerce, and my friend Giles Underhill worked with Peter Rollings at Foxtons, and he introduced me to Peter. And that was our first, Peter came in and said, oh, I hear you're the guys. I want someone who isn't in the property space to really create awesomeness here, and we're going, yeah, no problems at all. And we met Beth Hilson, and who was his, right-hand lady on the marketing front. But oh my God, what an education that was! Because we didn't know anything about property. I used to do logos for property companies, and I feel sorry for anyone who goes, oh yeah, we've just won that opportunity. It's a massive responsibility. There's data flying around at 100 miles an hour all over the, from multiple different feeds to different places. And you really need to understand it. You have to understand the workings of it. And it actually has to become a passion. There was a good period of time in the last 20 years. I think it's only the last 5 that we went, bugger it. If you can't beat them, join them, And as you know, it was only when I grabbed your shirt tails last year that I actually did the full whale time. I actually did all the shows. Yeah, and it was amazing. And you know, I think there's some fantastic people out there. I think there's an energy, and the bit that I really, really love is that what has happened in this blooming lockdown. I mean, I don't know about you, but seeing people at home with the kids jumping on their laps and dodgy connections occasionally and dressed down and everything, I think it's done more good for agents and all of us really than you can imagine. I mean, putting aside, hopefully, you know, people haven't been hit badly. I know many have, but you know, the upside to it all is that it's really pulled the covers off. It's actually given a lot of the stakeholders and their management or whatever a lot more time to really focus, as you said at the very beginning, on their platform. I now go to people as part of the whole web app experience is I go, so what are the most powerful pages on your website? What do you really want? And of course, we know what they want. They want instructions, right? Well, you go to 99% of every single estate agent website, including sadly many of ours, but we're trying to make good of that very quickly, and go to the why sell with us, why let through us, you know, pages. Where's the video of the best guy, you know, the killer, Simon from Robinson Jackson? You know, I saw him once. Awesome, you know, so inspiring. And you go, you're hired, you know. I need him on that page. And I need a button right below going, book a video call with me right now, you know. And it's just not there, you know. And it's like, guys,
it's incredible that, isn't it? When you just say that, so many of those pages, the About Us page, doesn't have a call to action in terms of, you know, you've just read about the business there, and then it just leaves you to go and have a look at the rest of the site, doesn't it? Rather than that time to get all over it.
But it never stops as well. If you go to the area guides, it's just 3 pictures to describe Chelsea. No, I've been Chelsea for 30 years. I'd need about 1,000 pictures and, you know, 24 hours of video to show you all the nooks and crannies. So all I'm asking for is 2 minutes or 1 minute of video. And suddenly you look like a company who actually has embraced it. So you'll get your web app is engaging and it's keeping people on your site, you know. So, you know, I think that there's so many things to consider.
So that's a key element there in terms of, you know, be very, very careful. Although they might have some, you know, genuinely some killer ideas, they've got to have all the basics. Otherwise, you'll never get round to those really the bits that make you different. So another thing I'd say is then when people are looking at web projects, what are the big no-nos you would say, the advice you'd give to agents to watch out for when consulting for a new web partner?
Well, I think that there's a big piece of discovery, which is, you know, what's going on? Where are you right now? You know, what's happening with your existing website? What's happening with, you know, all your competitors' websites? What do you as stakeholders want at the end game? What are the metrics? What are the KPIs? What is the marketing ROI? I ask people, do you know what your marketing ROI is? You know, what would you pay me to get you an instruction? For buyer, for tenant, you know, for a vendor, a landlord. They don't know that. Then it's like, what's your brand story? You know, and with Peter Knight, he's famous for this, you know, and he actually got me on stage to talk about it. But I mean, it's just something that people have got to understand. They've got to create a story. And without repeating myself, but I think I have to repeat myself just to deliver the message, is Lego houses, keys and handshakes and pictures of property. Describe your services is a cop-out, and it's sadly on 95% of websites out there. So really think about what you want. Don't come to the table and go, I need a good-looking website, because actually what you need is a good-looking website that tells your story with super rich content, with a keyword strategy, with a content architecture that's super fast, is found by Google, on social, capturing data, and going on and on and on. But that's what you need to do. You need it to link with your CRM, two-way sync. Go on.
I was just about to. You hit one of the most important ones there. That again ties back to what we were talking about before. The days of one way feeds. I mean, they should have been dead years ago as it is. But really, what it does is, if you're looking to have a two-way sync between the web company, which has got to be one of your, essential providers of your, if not the essential provider of an estate agency, linking with that other essential provider, the CRM, because otherwise, you'll recognize this yourself. If you look at most estate agents here, they have three very distinct pots of, if you like, client data. They have the CRM system, which often will have, converted archive data. Sometimes, by the way, just to destroy myself there will be two of those, because of course there'll be one for sales and one for lettings. They don't
often. Yeah.
Over here, you've got the website. So your whole digital audience, that has nothing to do with that there. There's no links between it at all. So frankly, it's just a reference point over here. And then most companies, as well as you would recognize, they will then have EDM providers, electronic direct mail, like an Active Pipe, a MailChimp, a Brief Your Market, all of these. And then again, at best, they will have a simplistic sync between normally the CRM software there. Yeah. Now, the absolute foundation of a technology stack in a business now has to be, for those three essentials, doesn't it? To be transferring that data absolutely seamlessly.
Yeah. Now, that's the bit where, yeah, and that's why when people go, as sadly, it's a bit like, looking for a web agency is a bit like, the chase to the bottom with the estate agent fee thing. It's like, well, those guys are only charging 0.5%, but it's like, yeah, but they don't work, in many cases. Yeah. It's a bit like that. Sadly, what's happened is I need a logo, I need a website. You get it up and running. Now, I think there's a place for when you're just MVPing, minimum viable product, you're just starting the business, you've got no budget, you get something up. And that's why, companies like Mike's, Property Jungle, I think is great. And I think he really has done a great job. But the moment you want to take it to the next level, and actually you really want to control, and you want to be unique, and you want things your way, and you want to cover off all those things I said, even Mike would probably say you might want to move on there. So there's a time and a place for the sort of get it up quickly, prove my business, but mainly it's just a presence. It's not a lead generating powerhouse, which is now what I'm saying. So our strapline used to be create awesomeness. That meant you could just make things look bloody pretty and all the rest of it. But we soon realized that if you're not delivering results, then it's no good. And I do get picked up on that. So and I keep reminding that with my team. You've got to deliver results. But it's got to be awesome too. So I would say make sure that you've got a brief. Make sure that you've actually thought about what it is beyond pretty pictures and getting a property feed in your site, and stick your neck out and actually look at what your marketing ROI is. So don't say I can't afford it, because if I can actually, the new website with a bit of paid search and paid social and a video of you being an awesome guy with a Calendly and Zoom button on your website can actually get you 10 valuations, of which you win 5 and get an instruction. It's like you can afford
that's one of the laziest things that actually both lazy salespeople do. They just use the trite, it's an investment, not a cost, without actually really justifying it. But equally, it's as bad from the client's point of view, where just because they have a mental mindset, literally a glass ceiling on how much they want to pay for it, if you can prove that there is revenue demonstrably coming back as a multiplier, what are we even sitting around having the conversation for, as long as you can ably demonstrate it, can't you?
Exactly. And that is what we're striving to do. And that's why I think that we've got the excitement now coming, because all the data is coming in. So for example, another one on that note is you might have Yomdel, right? Awesome chat, a whole bunch of different great companies, Moneypenny, all of these different companies out there doing different aspects depending on what price bracket you're on and what service you're wanting. But from my point of view, I love those tools as long as I can get all that data, because I don't want Ben or Simon coming in there and us dumbly not knowing that we now need to add to there, or them actually putting their hand up that, by the way, I've got kids from an email that I sent them, and I said, hey, use the locating schools map. And suddenly they're all clicking. So I know they've got kids because they're looking at schools. All that data's got to be joined up. The more joined up it is, the more powerful you are, and the more you can knock your competition for six, you know?
And that again is a really good point, isn't it? The public are getting very unforgiving because I think some people, and quite rightly, you know, some people probably abused with email marketing systems. You know, they'd phone up straight away and say, I see you've just opened our email. Yeah, that's stalky shit and it's the wrong way. But actually, there is a good demographic of the population now that understands how a lot of this works. And actually, if you haven't taken the time, energy, and indeed investments to put into these systems where you should know more about us, they're going to say, is this really the right company I want representing me?
Yeah, because it's all, you're setting an example all the time. This is how I'm going to deal with the leads that for your property, you know. So and likewise, if that's how you got dealt as a buyer and a tenant, I mean, we all know that buyers and tenants become vendors and landlords. So you've just got to treat everyone with all, you know, with more thought. I think people are very, very good there's a lot of estate agencies who've got these great places, good brands. They're all looking slick. They're very upfront in person and some really good processes. But if you can connect that with the tech, and I think there was a lot of, I mean, you will have cropped up with this. There's a lot of people were worried at one point that, you know, agents wouldn't be needed, you know, the apps would do it all. But you know, I even thought once upon a time we could just build something that would just stop, everyone could sell their own property. It's just not happening. You know, there's a place for everyone. I think that there's some interesting, you know, now the tech's getting more and more intelligent, the kind of Uber effect of estate agencies. And again, from the COVID thing, they can work from home, and I actually don't need as many branches, and they can plug in, and they're just good at that part of the equation, the franchise model stuff.
I think the classic example of this, and why I think again these CRM companies have found it difficult, you know, they've genuinely have seen that they have to change, not for a small part, that actually the dynamic of prop tech companies that were actually being that were starting up have moved away from techie geniuses who, let's face it, don't know their arse from their elbow about property, to people like, I think he's watching today, the likes of Christian Byfield, Kai Wheatley, people who have been frustrated with the fact that the CRM doesn't do a particular niche particularly well. So they have, and it's a horrible, wanky phrase, but liberated to go out and solve that part of it. So you're not going to, you know, from a CRM perspective, you're not going to say, sorry, Mr. Customer, we're not going to allow you to do it, because you haven't even met their requirements, have you? You haven't stepped up to the plate. So there's a really, really interesting dynamic here. And I always look, I don't want to say I saw the way it was going, but I definitely did, because as a salesperson, I understood that if I was selling, you know, the CRM software now, I wouldn't even be concentrating on what we did. I'd be demonstrating the depository. I'd be demonstrating area, Kai's area, and you know, just figuring out what are the agents actually using their business, and say, this is how we integrate with them. That's how that information is passed here. This is why you don't need to rekey the information in here. And repeat, it does the basics in the background. Or whatever it is. Yeah,
crunches the numbers, you know, and it can be a powerful thing. And I think that's what Reapit have seen. And I really am, you know, excited what they're doing. But
they've stepped up with that pass system. And again, I think, you know, taking it certainly further than any of the internal conversations we had when I was there in terms of what they could do.
But that was driven, wasn't it, Simon, by the continuous volume of prop tech coming in going, I need this connection, I need that connection. It just wasn't a scalable approach. So
there was no way to deal with it. We were seen as, controlling that data because because there wasn't the ability to deal with it. Then people started suspecting Dr. Evil style you were doing something with the data where you just couldn't cope with it. I want to just deal with a couple of questions. I knew an open Q&A with by the way, would never finish on an hour. So apologies for those people that had something else to do, but I do enjoy talking to Ben, so I'm not going to apologise for that part of it. So first of all, Joe just mentioned on that other point there, well, I always like to read out something that starts Simon's right. So, so nurturing clients and catching them at pivot points can only be done if you have a genuine relationship currently. If you have something telling you when you speak, it makes upscaling a business development department absurdly fast, and ROI would be huge. Okay, so yeah, that makes perfect sense there.
Yeah.
And
Completely.
he talked about that Gary Vaynerchuk thing, and again, he's talking here. Gary sent a small customer a signed shirt that cost more than the customer's order, and got a 20k order of wine off the back of sending their friend a signed shirt. I have got a few stories of me, not to claim that I'm a Gary Vaynerchuk, but actually there was a cracker with Charlie Perdios that I'll tell you another time on there as well. And then just finally as well, Rob Brady, again, thanks for your time today, Rob. Some really interesting points. When he was talking about those critical, define yourself, stand out from the crowd, the Seth Godin, what's the purple cow? Those pages are often so locked away, you never even end up seeing them, do you?
No, exactly.
So look, let's look. One thing I've got to finish on, because of course, as you know, I'm here whorishly representing my pink hordes. I think what we've demonstrated in the last, hour and 10 minutes here, is just how important it has someone who's absolutely at the front of the pulse of this. For me, and I'm not, I'm not blowing smoke, but it's the reason we came to you. You have the knowledge of a state agency and indeed prop tech, so you understand that implicitly within the industry. But what I love about you as a business, for all the fact you are fantastic hippies, and that is a big plus in my book, is you challenge yourself on a weekly and monthly basis to look at what is going on in the wider market, but not that it's fluff. That is actually relevant, is going to impact. And I think when you've got that combination between the two, it's absolutely invaluable. So I think you've said today for all of our Kerfuffle members, you're going to be giving a free virtual one-on-one consultancy session, aren't you, to all members to help them set it up themselves, the virtual platform, which is normally Calendly and Zoom with the integration there.
And there's a few more tricks on from I've got recordings on my website, but we've had other sort of moves that we've done that have added extra sort of levels to that as well.
Yeah. So I, as I said, I encourage everybody, obviously via the Kerfuffle site, but they can go directly to yours, of course. Is go there, have a look at those video reviews that you just spoke about there. Yeah. It's important with any supplier. You do your due diligence, and these are bloody hard people to please your clients on there. And the fact you're doing a job for them like that, I think speaks absolute volumes.
Well, thank you very much, Simon. And it's we're obviously massive fans. We've really appreciated what you've done for us as well, in terms of, getting us out there. And we, as you say, that it's sort of Russ and I, Navin at the top, loving what we do. But the other day I was on a global town hall meeting that we do once a month, and there were 85 faces smiling, all working from home, even in India where there's 50 odd people. And I said to the guys, I've always been sort of envy of the Apple coolness and the culture that Steve Jobs created. And you go into the Apple store and they're all there with their little blooming Apple logos and all the rest of it. And I said, but to the guys, we've been decentralized since 2001. And the one thing that we've really cracked is creating a happy group of passionate people who love what they do. And, the whole Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week, I said to someone just the other day, people go, what's that all about? It's impossible. But in reality, if you really enjoy what you're doing and you really get under the bonnet like you do, burning candles, it ain't work, So, we're right up for it. Anyone out there, please shout out via the Kerfuffle site.
Yeah, please.
Thanks, Simon. And, hopefully I'll be able to come back and we can pick another subject or two in the not too distant future.
I think it goes without saying this is a monthly call now. I think we need to be focusing on new tech each time. Next time you can tell me what the hell all that those currencies are about. But
I'll wear a hard shirt next time when we get onto that one.
Excellent, Ben. Thank you to all of our guests. Fantastic here. We'll find it out and we'll be replaying it everywhere as well. So fantastic. Thank you again. Have a great week.
Yeah, all the best. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.